Hi, I'm August Keller, and this is my review of The Naked Gun 2025. So, it's not as good as the original, but this movie is in spirit with its predecessor. There's a lot of rapid fire jokes that don't necessarily need to land. They're just kind of like thrown in with a straight face in the dialogue, and you can notice them and chuckle at them, or you can just not even notice them on the first watch, and it doesn't really affect anything. And I really admire jokes like that are, well constructed, they fit in nice and smooth. And when you do catch them, they're, even if they're not your sense of humor, they're usually just like, and then you move on, right? They're nice and quick. And so, yeah, there's a lot of throwback silliness that I found very well structured in this movie. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking, there's satire, absurdism, there's dry puns, and there's a lot of running gags. The acting anchors all this by playing it straight, like I said. They add some physicality, comedic timing, and they're very committed to the bit, which I appreciate. Some might find it occasionally belabored, like some of the jokes do kind of like are drawn out and they don't work, and they are kind of calling attention to themselves. Some of the humor is hit and miss, especially as the movie goes on. I feel like it kind of hits less and less, and overall, it's not original. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of spoofs we've seen before, and even some of the humor itself is stuff I've seen before. But despite all that, I think this movie establishes a very specific and efficient sense of humor that ultimately carries the film. Yeah, and even then, the plot, parodies enough tropes that it remains functional. It's cycling through a very simple, cliche plot, which is, it's doing on purpose knowingly. And the script, has some digressions with the comedy, like I said, but it still balances that comedy alongside this window dressing story. So overall, I think it works. The script works. I laughed a good amount, which is really all this movie's trying to do. And normally I kind of condemn movies for that, but I think it mixes in enough senses of humor, different kinds of humor, and it is structured well enough, and the story, like I said, is functional enough that it does enough on all the levels to get by. Technically, The Naked Gun really combines a lot of like cartoonishness with this deadpan attitude to maintain a very spoof tone. In the cinematography, there's like brief techniques for individual bits, like snap zooms or lighting, that are kind of like a joke. The editing, like I said, has some filler, but besides that, it's a very consistently comedic timing. There's a lot of comedic timing, and it's a very concise runtime. It's under an hour and a half, which I appreciate because, again, this movie isn't trying to do a whole lot, so it's nice that it doesn't overstay its welcome as a whole. The sound design has exaggeration and like sarcastic voiceovers and a lot of genre elements like action that accentuate the slapstick. The music has this very jazzy noir scoring, which is of course a spoof, and there's also these wacky needle drops that are meant to be jokes, which, whatever, I thought they were okay. The production design, has a lot of parody and a sense of setting, a sense of location. It's set in LA. So that's all fine. I do think it kind of feels cheap at times, the production design, but it does the spoofing stuff well enough. Its cast has some cameos, and of course, I think having Neeson in this lead role was actually like pretty perfect as far as fit goes. He really was the guy to play this role, and I think they nailed that fit. There isn't a whole lot of fame necessarily. I mean, the cameos are okay. Him and Neeson people know, and Pamela Anderson people know, but I don't know if people are rushing to see the next Pamela Anderson or Liam Neeson movie. But still, the fit is just so good. The effects have, stunts, dummies, makeup, CGI, all of which is done for like humor rather than being like necessarily the most convincing. In fact, they're supposed to not be convincing at times. That's why they're funny. So yeah, overall, I think there's just enough here for the Naked Gun to be a satisfactory surprise. I actually went in expecting to not like it, and I ended up laughing a good amount. So I was wrong, I guess. I mean, it's not the best movie in the world. I mean, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I'm not saying it's a must see by any means, but I found it to be a positive experience, a mild one. I mean, I'm kind of indifferent towards it at the end of the day, but I'm still positive. I wasn't ever mad at it, and I enjoyed it a good amount of the time. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. If you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to like and subscribe. I also have a Instagram linked in the description. I'd love support there or here. Whatever you can do, I appreciate. But at the very least, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks. Bye.